Good morning, everyone. This is Curtis over at Insurance Agency Marketing Services, and I appreciate you taking some time with us today. We've got a really important topic that we're going to cover this morning, which is all oriented around how do we help you place more life insurance business. Before getting into that, I did want to take a couple of minutes and talk about some of the additional ways IAMS is here to add value to your practice. First up is our new producer builder. So if you're a new agent to us, this is a great way for us to partner with you. In your first 6 months, you can see we have a variety of point totals up there on the board, and as you're producing, you can cash in, and there's a range of items there, whether it's marketing dollars, marketing programs, trips, or just straight up cash. We've got that available. And so if you've got questions on that, reach out, talk to one of the sales directors over here. That number is 800-255-5055. In addition to that, we've got our referred producer program. If you know of an agent that maybe isn't quite happy with their current IMO relationship or you think might be a great fit for us, send them our way. Not only will you get a $50 bonus when they initially get contracted, but then on an ongoing basis, you will get overrides on their business. You don't have to do any of the service. We'll take care of all of that, and we'll cut those out on a quarterly basis. And candidly, these are some of the biggest checks that we cut. In addition to that, we've got our standard marketing reimbursement programs. You can see there that you accrue $100 for every $100,000 of qualifying indexed annuity premium, and then on the life insurance side, $200 for every $100,000 of single premium life, and $200 for every $10,000 of life target. And if you've got more questions on that, reach out, talk to one of the sales directors over here. Again, that number is 800-255-5055. Back office support, definitely want to touch on this for just a moment. In fact, we'll be talking a little bit about that further. But the team over here does an amazing job. It's part of what's driven our success over the last 38 years. And so whether it's on the front end from a case design, sales support standpoint, or you've got applications in or need to get contracted, the team over here does a great job. And so I would encourage you, if you haven't tested that out, that you definitely need to. In addition to that, we've got our IAMS portal, which is a wealth of resources. With that platform, not only can you do e-applications, you can run quotes on annuities and life insurance. We've got training on the platform. We also have our sales resource library, which literally has hundreds of point-of-sale pieces that are all compliant that you can instantly download right off of the website and customize. And we've got everything in there, from life insurance or annuity basics to loan regime, split dollar, and everything in between. And you just need to be contracted with us to be able to access that. So if you're not currently licensed with us, reach out, talk to a sales director over here. They can help you with that. That number is 800-255-5055. Going a little bit further on the IAMS portal, you can see here that we integrate with all of the most common e-app platforms, including Firelight, iPipeline, as well as Sunfire on your Medicare business. And to take that a step further, I've got an example here on Firelight, and you can see that they're going to integrate with the majority of the annuity carriers that we have, as well as some of the life insurance companies. iPipeline is going to integrate with the majority of the life carriers, but if you're wanting to get a full list or you need some help with that, just reach out and give us a call. Number's right there. It's 800-255-5055. Creative marketing solutions. Creative really is the key term there. One thing I think we do that is different than some of the other IMOs that are out there is we've got our staff completely in-house. And so their sole focus is working in the financial services space and really showcasing the best version of you, whether that's from a web design standpoint, social media, print marketing, you name it. And so the team does an amazing job. The other thing I would mention to you as well, that is a complimentary service that we provide our agents, is they do offer a customized marketing analysis. We just wrapped up the first quarter, and so for many advisors, they are in full bore production mode and trying to build each month. And so one of the core elements of that is marketing. And so if you're not quite sure what you want your marketing to look like for the year, or maybe you're doing something that's not quite working the way you want it to, reach out, talk to a sales director. Let them get that scheduled with you. We'll do a deep dive into what your goals are for the year, what the business looks like currently, do an evaluation of your marketing assets, and then put together a customized marketing plan that will work with you to implement. And again, to reach one of the sales directors, that number is 800-255-5055. We also have IAMS Wealth Management, and I'm going to launch the first of 3 polls today here. So let me get that pulled up. But we developed this RIA platform several years ago, and we did it with the foresight that more and more advisors are going to move to a more comprehensive model for how they do business, and we've really designed our platform around that. We've designed it for the advisor who they're selling some annuities, they're selling some life insurance, they want to incorporate AUM into their business, and we've designed our service model around that, which is going to be different than some of the firms out there where they're solely just focused on how much AUM you're doing. And so the team does a really amazing job at not only servicing that business, but then also helping you grow and develop that to where it can generate a very meaningful revenue flow for you. So if you've got questions on that, if you have interest, go ahead and check yes on the poll here. And I'll go ahead and get this shut down so we can keep moving along here. Next up are our life and annuity academies, and I'm very excited about these. In fact, I'm going to launch our next poll here. But these really are an amazing way to spend some time working on your business. When you're out in the field, you're spending time prospecting and marketing and dealing with clients and carriers and IMOs, and it's tough to focus on development of your practice. And that's really what these life and annuity academies are designed to be, as an opportunity to get out of the field and spend a couple of days focused on your business and how do you grow and develop and get out of it what it is that you want. And so we cover all of the top trends in the annuity and the life insurance space. What are the most current trends from a marketing and prospecting standpoint? What are technology solutions that you should be looking at? And then in addition to that, we bring some of the top producers in the country out to talk about their practice and how they're generating and creating success for them on a consistent basis. And so we do several of these throughout the course of the year. They do fill up very, very quickly. And so I would mention to you, if you do have interest in that, definitely check yes, and I can have a sales director reach out to you about that. So I'll go ahead and get this closed down here. And then finally on my intro, make sure to follow and like us on Facebook and LinkedIn. We syndicate a lot of content out on marketing best practices, carrier rates and changes. And so every single day we are posting. And so it's one of the best ways to get information from us quickly. So I've got the links up there. So I'll go ahead and I'll shut this down here real quick and get our main presentation set up. With me today, I've got Michele Kosiol, who is the head of Life New Business. And very excited to have her on and have her spending a little bit of time with us today to talk about accelerate life insurance sales. You typically hear me talk a lot about marketing and prospecting, and that's obviously a critically important component of your practice, but I think equally important is that worked. We've got some prospects, we've written some business. How do we make sure that we get that going through the system as efficiently and quickly as possible, and ultimately getting the right rate class that you can place? So, Michele, appreciate you taking some time with us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you. So here at IAMS, we have a back office team of case managers. We all have quite a few years of experience under our belts. So you're going to get the top-notch service from our team. So here at IAMS, we are here to help assist with illustrations and carrier placement. Carrier placement means if you have a client and you're not quite sure what carrier would be best, you can give us a call, and either our sales director or our in-house underwriter can walk you through and kind of talk about your client and see what carrier is going to be best for that client. By doing this, we're trying to avoid having to submit multiple applications with multiple carriers. If one doesn't work, then we're moving on to the next. The goal is to do a one and done. We assist with questions. We communicate with the agents throughout the application process. So if there's something that's missing on the application when we first receive it, your case manager is going to reach out to you and try and get that completed before we submit that application. Or if there's something that's needed throughout the process, they're going to be reaching out to you to obtain that information. We try to order the parameds and medical records here through our office. That gives us a little more control on being able to follow up and make sure that those are getting done and that they're being completed in a timely manner. And then we also assist with enforced policies. So just because the application's been placed in force, that doesn't mean that our assistance stops. We still help with the enforced policies as well. So what we would suggest before submitting an application is to obtain your client's medical history and any issues. If there's any type of medical issues, if there's diabetes or if there's heart issues or even any type of drug use, we have questionnaires that we can send to you to have your client get those completed so we can get a full picture of your client's history. So again, we can submit that and we can try and get that client with just one carrier instead of having to do multiples.
And we have those questionnaires on the IAMS portal as well, so we can either email them or they can download them right off of the website.
Right, right. So the website, there's a lot of resources right there at your fingertips. If it's after hours and you're needing something, you can always go to our website and pull that from the website. You don't have to wait for us being open or waiting for us to respond back to you. We would also ask that you set expectations with your clients on timeframes, examinations, and inspections. So what's going to happen is once those applications are submitted, again, the case managers are going to be reaching out to you, letting you know, hey, Paramed exam has been ordered. Please let your client know that an examiner is going to be reaching out to them, or say everything's done and the file's with underwriting. We're going to tell you underwriting's taking anywhere from 3 to 5 days, 5 to 7 days, just so that we can set those expectations and then you can set those expectations with your clients as well. The biggest thing is when you're speaking to the sales directors and if they're talking about carriers, before you do an application, let's make sure that you are contracted with that carrier before you submit that business. By submitting the business and then doing contracting, it will delay us from submitting your application to the carrier. So it's very important to make sure that you are contracted before you submit those applications.
Well, that's a good point because, I mean, the sales directors, they'll take a look at what carriers are contracted with, but, I mean, their kind of default is to what company has the best pricing, and so they'll ask you about it if you want to get added onto another carrier, but you can either ask the sales director if you're active with that carrier or the new business team. As Michele mentioned, they're going to check that too at the time of application, but it's always easier if we can get that process started in advance.
Right. And then make sure that you're registered on the IAMSinc.com website. That's where you're going to go to complete EAPS. We are very much for the EAPS. It makes the process goes a lot quicker, and it ensures that the applications are completed and there's no other information that's going to be needed. If you are completing a paper application, make sure that you're reaching out to one of the team members to obtain the most current application packet. This is one of the biggest issues because if you guys complete an application and it's not on the right forms, then we have to have a whole new application completed. So to avoid that from happening, just make sure you're reaching out to one of the team members and ask them for the most current application packet. And then use the field underwriting to learn more about your client during the meeting. Again, this helps with knowing what approval rating they're going to be submitted with, and just helps with the underwriting in general. And then if you have a foreign citizen or foreign national, make sure that you're obtaining a copy of their visa, green card, or proof of citizenship. That's just, again, when we can submit it with the application, it goes through the underwriting a little bit quicker.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, I feel like it's always easier if we know medical conditions and all of that. I mean, we've got an in-house underwriter here, and so the more we know up front, the better we can drive what carrier might be the best option. and not have issues on the back end. It's always, I think, frustrating for the client and the agent when we have something pop up on the back end that maybe we didn't know about, and it's some kind of medical condition, and maybe we have to pivot to another carrier.
Right. Yeah, so the more we know, the better we're able to assist you with finding that carrier that's going to be a right fit for your client. If you're submitting paper applications, there's a couple ways that you can submit those. You can fax them to the 402-330-7296. You can upload it to IAMSinc.com, or the fastest way is to email directly to life@IAMSinc.com. That is the life mail inbox, and that's where all of the business goes to. So it ensures that everything is getting handled. There's a couple different people that have access to that email box, so it's not going to just sit there until somebody gets to it. It gets worked within probably, I'd say, even minutes of the emails being received. They're getting sent to where they need to go.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that team's in there all day, every day. So as soon as they see something, it's getting out to the right person.
Yep, we're in there constantly. And then that's where the emails for the applications are going as well. So as soon as we see those applications in there, we're going in and we're approving them to be sent to the carriers. If you're using IGO and Firelight eApp solutions, that is definitely the faster processing. And again, like I'd mentioned before, it ensures that the application is completed fully, and we won't be coming back and asking for any additional information on those applications. Make sure that you're providing full details for all of the yes questions, not necessarily just the medical questions, but all of the questions. Make sure that you are providing all of the information. And then remember that the non-med accelerated underwriting does not mean guaranteed issue. So what's going to happen is the carriers are going to be checking the MIB, the MBR. They're going to be doing a credit check. They're going to do a prescription check. They're going to do a medical history check. They're going to run numerous reports. And if the client does not make it through, or if there's something on those reports that knocks them out of the non-med accelerated underwriting program, then the carrier is going to come back and they're going to ask for the Paramed exam, labs, medical records, or any other information that they deem necessary.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good point, because I think, accelerated underwriting's only been around for a few years. And so,
I think since COVID.
Yeah, and so we do have a complete portfolio of carriers and products that offer simplified issue, guaranteed issue, final expense. So when you're talking to that sales director, that would be the one thing I would mention, is if you're looking for that type of product, just mention that, and we can go through and look through the portfolio.
So during the underwriting process, there's several carriers that are doing the Part 2 medicals. They're either doing those online or via a phone interview. So once you have completed that application, we're going to let you know that a link has been sent to your client to complete that online Part 2, or ask you to let the client know to be expecting a phone call to get that completed. The quicker they get those completed, the quicker they go through and they get over to the underwriter for review. Encourage them to get those completed just as quickly as possible. If the client is filling out a paper Part 2, again, make sure that all of the questions are completed, and that if there are yes answers, that you're providing full details and just as much information as possible to those yes answers. When a Paramed exam is required, just a couple things to relay over to your client is make sure they're well hydrated. This helps with the blood draw. It helps with the urine sample. It also helps with the blood pressure and all of that stuff as well. Make sure that they fast for at least 4 to 6 hours prior to the exam. Avoid alcohol for at least 12 hours prior to the exam. As silly as that sounds, it can mess with some of the markers that they do test for.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that where, client goes out the night before and doesn't think anything of it, and then it skews their lab results. So that's an important one.
Right. Um, Avoid strenuous exercise for at least 12 hours. Have a list of prescriptions, dosages, and physicians nearby or handy so that they can provide that information to the examiner. And make sure if there is a stress test needed that they're wearing comfortable clothing. Nobody wants to do a stress test in a three-piece suit or heels.
Yeah, one thing I notice on here is you've got on here avoid nicotine at least 1 hour prior. That's not necessarily to avoid getting a tobacco rate though.
Correct. So if you smoke before the exam, it again can skew your pulse, it can skew your blood pressure readings. It's just recommended that you try not to smoke before you have your Paramed exam. So when the case is approved, your case manager will request issue instructions. They'll either be calling you or they'll be sending an email. When we request the issue instructions, we just want to make sure that the client is okay with proceeding either as approved or if it was approved other than applied for. So say they applied at preferred and they got standard. That premium is obviously going to be higher at that standard rate. So if the client wants to lower that base amount to make that policy a little more affordable, that's the kind of stuff that we're needing to know. If there's an illustration that was submitted at a different rating than approved for, we'll need a new revised illustration for that as well. And our sales directors can help with that if you're not sure how to run those. If the approval comes back other than applied for, we are going to send that over to our in-house underwriter to see what her thoughts are and see if she thinks that it's possible to get a better rating either through that same carrier or with another carrier. Of course, we would prefer to have it with that same carrier to avoid having to do another application, but sometimes that's just not the case, and sometimes there's another carrier that is more favorable to whatever it is that your client was approved at that less desirable approval rate. So say there's marijuana use that wasn't disclosed. We have carriers that are more favorable to marijuana use than others. So again, when you're case profiling your client, those are things that you want to try and find out ahead of time. And if they are using marijuana, it's always important to admit that on your application. And then once all delivery requirements are completed and submitted to the carrier, the case manager will notify you that the policy's been placed in force and what that policy effective date is.
Well, I think that's another thing that I think is unique about what we do is it is not an uncommon thing through an IMO that pretty much they're sending out email correspondence to the agent on updates, and our team of case managers, not only are they going to send email updates out, but they're going to make phone calls out to you as well. And so they want to make sure that they're getting the information over to you, that you got the correspondence that they sent, make sure they're addressing any questions that you had. So that would be one thing I'd mention as well is if you're seeing that you're getting messages from case managers because they've got some updates or there's something going on with the case. And so the sooner that you get back with them, the sooner we can keep that case moving right along.
Right. So these are a list of our sales directors. So Tony Butler, Beth, Paul, and John Lemaster are all of your life sales directors. You can call in and ask for any of them, and they will be happy to help you. Andrea is our in-house underwriter. So again, if you have a client that you need help with figuring out a good home for your client, you can always email her or you can call in and you can ask for her to have a conversation with her. And then these are all of our life case managers. Again, as I mentioned, there's lots of years of experience between us. The nice thing is our team is specialized in certain carriers. So you're not going to work with the same case manager all the time. It all depends on what carrier you're submitting. We do this so that our case managers are very well versed and know everything about the carriers.
Well, I think that's a good point because I think that can be a challenge at times because there's kind of two ways to do that, which is have the case manager get very, very fluent and proficient with a pool of carriers, or you have them basically just work any cases that are coming in. And I think the challenge with that second option is, this is very much a relationship business, and every carrier is going to have their own little idiosyncrasies for how they do things. And so if somebody's not super familiar with that, doesn't have a great relationship with the carrier, then that's where things can get bogged down and take a little bit longer. The other thing I would mention as well, and Michele touched on this earlier in the presentation, but the team that we have is a very, very seasoned team. I mean, the backgrounds are, working at the carrier level, the IMO level, the BGA level, and so you're not dealing with somebody that just started doing this, but you're dealing with somebody that's really got a long track record of working in this space and working with advisors and supporting their business.
Yes.
So, okay, well, good. So that was a really good, I think, overview of the resources that we have available on the new business side, as well as some best practices with that. I've got a couple of other things here that I wanted to mention. One, if you haven't used this is a great resource. We've got our life insurance sales kit. It's got everything you need to position life insurance, from prospecting pieces for email and direct mail templates, as well as social media. It's also got point of sale pieces and fact finders, and so we've got that available. In addition to that, we've also got our life insurance best practices guide. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to launch our final poll of today's presentation. But that life insurance best practices guide is a great resource. It takes a deeper dive into the overview that Michele gave us this morning. And I guess what I would tell you is we are committed here at IAMS to help you with the entire sales process. So if you're wanting some help and want to get in front of more prospects and to sell some more life insurance, we've got a whole portfolio of programs available for that. We've got a very seasoned team of sales directors and underwriters to help you when you do have that case. And then we've also got a very seasoned team of case managers, so that once that business does get submitted, they are following up on that and touching it all the way, going from submission to commission. And so I would encourage all of you to definitely work with the team here. We built that out, and that's, I think, one of the nice things is you get to put us on your staff and not your payroll. And our goals are aligned with yours, which is to help you drive more sales and have as profitable of a company as possible. So with that, that's everything that we had this morning. I appreciate everybody taking some time out of their day to spend with us, and we will be following up with you afterwards. Thanks, everybody.